provide better grip with the foot of the rails. Now come to the bolts. Bolts are the words which are very common. We all know what are nut and bolts. The same word here we can use. Now this is a nut part, this is a bolt. It is very common to us. We often know what exactly the bolt is. Now in railways, once again bolts play a very important part. There are different type of bolts used in the Indian railways for connecting fish plates to the rails at each rail joint, breathing plates and chairs to the wooden sleepers, and slippers to the bridge girders. So these bolts are used at different places. Regarding types of bolts, we have fish bolts, hook bolts and fang bolts. We have three different varieties. The first one, the fish bolts. Fish bolts are the bolts used for connecting fish plates to the rails at rail joints. Now these are especially used with the fish plates. With each pair of fish plate, 2 to 6 fish bolts are used. Usually we use 4 number of fish bolts with the fish plates. Now here you can see these are the fish bolts. Something more regarding these bolts, these are made up of medium or high carbon steel. Now look at this particular 2-3 words, high carbon steel. Why so? Why we are using high carbon steel, medium or high carbon? So that they can resist or they can withstand shear due to heavy transverse stresses. We know that the rails, the fish plates, the fish bolts are under heavy loads, so they are under heavy transverse stresses. To withstand these stresses, we have to use a high carbon steel, otherwise these may crash. Secondly, these bolts are either square or hexagonal in shape. Thirdly, these are 25 mm in dia, 1 inch, and 127.6 mm in length, which are used for 44.7 kg rail. It means a rail length having a weight of 44.7 kg, we are using the fish bolts of these specifications. So it is different for different type of rails. Fourthly, the nut of this bolt, it is of sufficient length so as to provide a good grip on the bolt. We all know the bolt is incomplete without a good nut. So the nut of this bolt, it should be of a sufficient length so as to provide good grip to the bolt. Something more about the fish bolts. Now to increase their hold further, lock nuts and washers may be used. Now again this is very common. In our houses also we are using washers at different places just to get a good hold, just so that the bolt and nut can be tightened in a good way. So to increase their hold further, lock nuts which are locked after giving the tightness, these are locked, and washers may be used so as to give them good hold. Next, the bolts get loose by the vibrations caused by the moving wheel loads. It's very natural that these bolts get loosened. So they require tightening from time to time. Now this is the maintenance part. These bolts should be tightened from time to time, but keep in mind, too much tightening is prohibited as it prevents the free expansion and contraction of rails due to temperature variations. Now this is very important. Due to temperature variations, there is an expansion and contraction of the fish plates between the rails. So to accommodate it, we are not tightening these bolts too much. So what we do, in practice, the nut is loosened by quarter turn, about 6 mm, after its thorough tightening. When we thoroughly tighten the bolts, nuts, that nut is loosened by a quarter turn, by 6 mm. So these are very minor things, but very important as far as the fish plates, the fish bolts are concerned. Now this is something regarding the bolts. Then comes the hook bolts. These bolts are also known as dog bolts. As you know, as you can see now, this shape is responsible for its second name. These bolts are also known as dog bolts due to the shape of their head. These bolts are used for fixing wooden slippers to the bridge girders. Now, this is used in different cases. In the case of bridge girders, where we are using the wooden slippers, these hook bolts are especially used there. Now, where slippers rest directly on the bridge girders, they are fastened to the top flange of the girders by means of hook bolts. So, just keep in mind, whenever we are attaching the wooden slippers to the bridge girders, which bolts we are using? We are using the hook bolts with this shape. Now, the fang bolts, which are not very common, but these bolts are used for fixing slide chairs to the slippers, and these are actually as an alternative to the round spikes or the screw spikes, and these bolts have been used, have found to be more effective, but their fixing and removal is very difficult. That is why these fang bolts are not so common as compared to the fish bolts and the hook bolts. Now, coming to the keys, we are very close to the end of our lecture. Now, regarding the keys, what are keys? These are the small tapered pieces of timber or steel. Now, this is a piece of steel actually, a spring type. Small tapered pieces of timber or steel used to fix the rails to the chairs on metal slippers. We will see the diagram also. So, keys are the small pieces of metal, steel or timber to fix the rails to the chairs on metal slippers, and secondly to connect rails to the bearing plates and steel slippers. Regarding the types of keys, in Indian Railways, various types of keys are used, but these are classified into two different categories according to the material used. The wooden keys made up of the wood, a wedge shaped key, and the metal keys. We will not going to discuss these keys in detail here, but just for the knowledge sake, metal keys are once again are of two types, the Stewart key and the Morgan key. Now, these are the patented keys by these persons, the Stewart key and the Morgan keys. Now, coming to the last topic of this session, that is the fastenings anchors or anti-creepers. Now, these 2-3 diagrams are very much explaining what the anchors or anti-creepers are. Now, look here, this is the anchor or anti-creeper. Once again, this is shown separately. Here, this part is showing the anchor or anti-creeper. Now, this anti-creeper is formed from the word creep. So, to just adjust or to prevent the creep in the railway track, we are using these two types of fastenings, anchors or anti-creepers. So, what exactly are these? These are the devices used for preventing the creep in a railway track. So, these may be called anchors or anti-creepers, and these are available in different fixed either in the spring action or directly. So, from this particular diagram, this is very much clear that these are holding these rails from the base, and if there is a creep action during the movement of load on this rail, it will hold this base tightly and the creep can be prevented in a better way. Once again, as you can see, this is a steel type of anti-creeper used. So, it is just placed below the foot of the rail just as to prevent the creep, which is very often, which we often see during the movement of the rails. So, these anchors or anti-creepers provide a very good option just to prevent the creep in the railway track. So, this is all regarding our today's lecture of this fixtures and fastenings. So before winding up, I would like to conclude what exactly today in this lecture we have studied. We have just started up our lecture with the definition of fixtures and fastenings, that what exactly the fixtures and fastenings are. Now these are the very important fittings which are used in the rails just to increase the length, to maintain their grips, and regarding their functions, we have seen we have four or five different type of functions of these fixtures and fastening, providing the total lateral and vertical stability to the railway tracks. Then we have seen different type of fixtures and fastenings, starting up with the fish plates, the plates which are provided with the 4 fish bolts with the holes of 32 mm with the 140 to 50 mm of length. So these are provided just to maintain the continuity of the railway tracks, since the length of the rails are available in a standard length. So just to continue their length, or to continue the length of the track, we use the fish plates with a slight joint in between, so as to manage the temperature variations for the contraction and expansion part. Then comes the bearing plates. The bearing plates are mainly provided in between the slippers and the rail part, so just as to transfer the loads of the rails to the bearing to the slippers part. Then comes the chairs. Chairs are exactly the grippers, you can say, which are provided with the inner and the outer jaw. When the rail is placed in between these chairs, with the help of keys, these are gripping the rails in a better way. Then comes the different type of spikes which we have seen here today, the dog spikes, and some more different type of spikes which are screw spikes, which are mainly playing the role of just gripping the rail part to the slippers part. Then the bolts and keys and the anchors and the anti-creepers. So these are some of the different fixtures and fastenings which we are using in railways. I hope in the today lecture of fixtures and fastening, you must have get an idea that what exactly these fixtures and fastenings are and how important they are. However, they doesn't look so much important when we study, but practically on the ground aspect, these play a very important part as far as the railway accidents are concerned, or some often we come across different type of news regarding where these fixtures and fastenings were playing very important part. So their maintenance is of much importance. So this is all regarding my today's lecture of fixtures and fastenings. Thank you very much.